The environment is very important to all of us, but as a scout, it's really important because we want to preserve what's out there. Recently, over the years, you've heard of the story of the Lorax. And there's a movie out. I haven't seen it, but I understand it doesn't really go according to the book. So tonight, in a special presentation, I'd like to have Ryan Konzowski present to you the Lorax. Yo.
Can everyone hear me? No. Okay. Wait. No. Can you hear me, Drew? Okay. At the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing except in old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today the place where it stood just as long as it could before somebody came and took the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From at the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, the old Onceler still lives there. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkum on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of myth-muffered woof. And on special dank midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells of how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail, in the shell of a great-great-grandfather's snail. Then he pulls up the rope and makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you've paid him away in his snub, a secret strange hole in his grubulous glove. Then he says, I will call you by whisper-ma-phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Slump! Down sluts the mystery phone to your ear, and the Onceler's whispers are not very clear, for they have to come down through a snorgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. I am the Onceler, and I will say how the Lorax was lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time ago. Back in the day, when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the Swami swans rang out in space. One day I came to this glorious place, and the first thing I saw were the truffula trees, the truffula trees, the beautiful tufts of the truffula trees. All of my life I'd searched for trees such as these. I felt a great joy and leap in my heart. I knew what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. And in no time at all, I built a small shop. And I took a great axe, and I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. Then, with great skillful skill and great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump, and I looked over. Something popped out of the stump. He was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and brownish and oldish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees, for the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed. What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, this thing is a thneed. I need to find something that all people need. I'm causing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a need. It's quite useful.
What's that thing you've made?
It's a sock. It's a hat. It's a shirt. It's a glove. But it has more uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for curtains, for pillows, for sheets, for carpets, or covers for bicycle seats.
That thing that you made, you're crazy with greed. No man on earth would buy such a fool thing.
But the very next moment, I proved he was wrong. For at that very minute, a man came along. He thought that the thneed I had knitted was great, and he happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lawrence. You poor stupid guy. You never can know what some people will buy. Then I rushed to my office, and in no time at all, I built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts. I said, hey, listen here. Here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here quick. Take the road to North Mitch. Take a left at Weehawken, quick right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all making needs, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. And that old, crazy Lorax, well, he didn't come around anymore. Until the very next week when he knocked at my new office door.
I am the Lorax,
He said,
what? I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees which you seem to be chopping just as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloos, which play around in their barbaloo suits, enjoying the shade and eating truffula fruits.
but when I looked at him, I said, you're not, I said, bear with me. I'm still here. So we're going to reverse a little. We're going to go back to the part where the Lorax comes up and he knocks at the door. Okay? Everyone following? But the next week he came and knocked at my door.
I am the Lorax.
He snapped.
I speak for the trees. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloos who frolic around in their barbaloo suits and play in the shade and eat truffula fruits. But now, thanks to your chopping my trees down, there's not enough truffula fruits to go round. And all of my barbaloos, why, they've got the crummies, for they have gas and no food in their tummies. They loved living here, but they can't stay. So I'm sending them off, for they have to find food, and I hope that they may.
And he waved them goodbye, and then they were off. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and businesses must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know? Anyway, before I want to go to my other forensics piece. Wait. Regardless of crummies and tummies, you know, I had to get bigger. So bigger I got. I biggered my factories, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered my loads. Of the needs I shipped out, I was shipping them forth, to the east, to the west, to the south, to the north. I was biggering it all, selling more needs, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again he came back. I was fixing the pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes.
Onceler!
He coughed with a truffulous croak.
Onceler, you're making such smog with smoke. My poor Swami Swan's pipe. They can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. So, please pardon my cough. They can't stay here, so I'm sending them off. get away from the smog you've smogged up around here. And what's more,
cried the Lorax. His dander was up.
let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on, making gluppity-glup, and also schloppity-schlop. And what do you do with that leftover glue? Well, I'll show you, you dirty old onceler man, you. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed, for they can no longer hum, for their gills are all gummed. And what do you do with that leftover goo? You gum up the pond of the humming fish. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll have to walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of for some water that isn't so smeary.
Now I was mad. I was terribly mad. I looked at that Lorax. Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yell yap, yap, yap and say bad, bad, bad. Well, I've got my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, you, I intend on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering. And I'm figuring on making more thnees, because that's what everyone needs. Just then we heard a loud whack. From outside of the fields came a loud smack. And it was the sound of an axe on a tree. And then we heard the tree fall. The very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more thnees, no more work to be done. And in no time at all, my uncles and aunts, every one, all waved me goodbye, and they hopped in my cars, and they drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. And now all that was left, beneath the bad-smelling sky, was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance. Just gave me a very sad, backwards glance, as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the look on his face as he hoisted himself and took leave of this place, through a hole in the smog, without leaving a trace. And all that Lorax left here in this mess was a pile of rocks. And one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was so long ago, such a long, long time ago. But every day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Every year since my buildings have fallen apart, I've sat here and worried with all of my heart. But now that you're here, why, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you hears a whole awful lot, nothing will change. No, it will not. So, catch! And he let something fall. It was the last truffula seed of them all. You are in charge of the last of the truffula seeds. And truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a truffula. Treat it with care. Feed it fresh water and feed it fresh air. Build a forest. Protect it from axes that